And we're back with Lisa Mitchell, the people reader, and now she's going to read me. So go right ahead, Lisa, and read me.
Yeah, well, so we'll just kind of take your current state of being, okay? And I'll give you some tips and your audience some tips that they can use to really look for key elements of people to see what am I dealing with, right?
Yeah, please.
So one of the things I always tell people to look at is the amount of space that the person across from them is taking up. There's a lot of research around claiming space, and the space that we claim is correlated to maybe how confident that we're feeling internally. So if you're sitting across from someone, like right now you're sitting, you're comfortable, you're taking up space, your elbows are out a little bit, it tells me that you're feeling pretty comfortable and pretty confident in the space that we're in and the situation that we've created. Now, if you were sitting very upright and tight with your elbows kind of tucked in, you know, maybe your knees together, you know, that tells me that you're feeling a little less secure and maybe a little more protective. So the other thing I love about you is that you're showing a very open posture. So a lot of times if someone is feeling protective or scared or even threatened by maybe a social situation, they'll kind of close off. You'll see arms closed over their torso. That's a real protective maneuver. Sometimes women will hold a purse or a drink in front of them. Even something small like a drink can be an inward reassurance that they're protecting themselves. So if you're wanting to convey openness like you're doing right now, you know, just keeping your torso unblocked and keeping a good straight posture as we talk shows I'm not shrinking in, I'm not getting small, I'm not trying to be too protective right now. So you're taking up space, you're open, your feet are planted, it shows confidence. If they were offset like in a runner stance, a lot of times that's a person's kind of internal wiring telling them they want to leave.
So a runner's stance, is that
like
would that
offset
be more like,
and maybe
like
sitting
this,
on the edge of your chair? Right, like it looks like you really like you could take off running, right? Like if things got really uncomfortable, you would just be gone, right? So there's a lot of ways based on what you're showing me now that shows that you're engaged, you're rooted, you're open to the conversation, you're comfortable in your environment. Now, if I were to ask you something really wacky, so let's freeze frame on your face right now, right? So that was like a surprise kind of micro expression, or maybe a little fear mixed in there, like you don't know maybe what I'm gonna throw at you next.
We're looking for the curveball.
Right.
So I'm very expressive, but when I did this, or I can't do it exactly again, but when I went.
Right,
you know,
those are the real subtle cues. Those little facial movements, eyebrows up, or maybe if somebody's angry, you'll see their mouth set on a line. When you ask them a question, they'll just do a little like lip purse before they answer. That means that's their anger, expression of their anger. So there's little subtle things when you get really good at reading the outward posture as well as the facial expressions that can really clue you into how somebody feels about you.
Wow. So
I think you like me. I think you're glad I'm here.
I'm totally elated and thoroughly excited that you're here, and just to knowing that it's to further affirm that body language is so important. And there are, I know for me personally, subtle, just I guess clues that are the micro expressions when you're saying, with like example, eyebrow flinch, you know, just kind of, or
just little subtle kind of flash second
or even
indicators.
because I do some of these gestures as you're, you know, you're reading me, or maybe the clenched teeth kind of, you know, just, you know, maybe a little tense of and thinking, but and with my facial expressions, I want to convey them correctly, because sometimes people have misconstrued my face, based off of the.
That's one of the dangers of not understanding body language, right? If you're running out in the wild and you're like, for me, one of the things I had to break from a habit perspective when I learned the science was don't stand with your arms crossed as your default. So if I was networking or I was talking, I would be totally open to engage. But my body language, I would take a little step back and I would cross my arms and protect a little bit, just because I'm not always comfortable socially. But that could be perceived by the person on the other side of me that I'm not appreciating our conversation, or I'm not interested in continuing, which is really the exact opposite of what I'm hoping to have happen. So you have to, once you have an awareness, you have more control.
So in the business setting of confidence with smiling, how much of in a corporate setting, or maybe a important business deal, how important is it to How much does one need to smile?
Well, so I think a better question to ask is how much warmth should you bring into a transaction, right?
Yeah,
because there's lots of ways you can convey or exude warmth. And in business, to be seen as charismatic is beneficial if it's authentic. And charismatic really is a combination of competence and warmth. And so you don't want to completely leave warmth on the shelf.
Yeah.
You want to build that in with, yes, I know what I'm doing, but yeah, I'm pretty darn likable too. So you don't necessarily want to smile through a negotiation or through an interview. You know, if you're the interviewer, you want to be situationally appropriate, but there's still ways that you can convey warmth with active listening, maybe leaning a little bit. Yeah. You know, keeping your hands visible is a great way to help build trust. Right. So there's all these little sets of things you can do to really convey that warmth.
So Lisa, you spoke about business and corporate world with body language and gestures. Does this also incorporate with romantic relationships as well?
Oh, absolutely. Probably even more so. There's this whole science of dating and romance, and it's, you know, some of it we can blame our caveman ancestors for. A little bit of that, as far as how a lot of the cues for romance is how we use space, and then also our eye contact. So there's actually a gazing pattern. Because we don't just look into each other's eyes. Your eyes are always moving up or down the face. And there's a gazing pattern that's specifically around intimate cues. And it's called an intimate gaze, and it goes eye, upper chest. So if someone's looking at you and their eyes are actually dropping off your face, they're kind of sizing you up, at least from a caveman perspective of would we have good, strong cave babies if we were to meld our DNA. But a lot of those caveman cues, they still show up in the bar at 2:00 in the morning, right? Like, we have not evolved nearly as far as we hope that we have.
So when people are just saying, you know, for this, like,
right, if you're talking to someone and their eyes keep dropping off your face, they may be sizing you up from an attraction standpoint. Which, if you're on a date, is great, right? If you're hoping to get a second date, if you see someone who goes from maybe watching your mouth when you talk to looking down a little further, green light, right? They're probably interested in you. You probably would be fairly safe in asking for that second date, not being rejected. So it comes in handy based on the situation that you're in.
Is dating more of a fun body language reading, or you don't mind speaking also with marriage and? There's a ton of picking up micro expressions in particular is so helpful in marriage relationships or in partnered relationships, because we miss so much and we start taking so much for granted. I am divorced primarily because I chose not to be aware of what was going on around me for a large portion of my relationship. And it cost me, it made my partner feel disconnected. It created misunderstandings between the two of us. It was really kind of that self-inflicted relational pain. And I think a lot of couples who don't take the time to clue into each other find themselves in similar territory, sadly enough. Fascinating. And when we come back, Lisa is going to share some of her secrets that will benefit and help your life.